The Mamba mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Rain, sleet, or snow, I grind. Maker.
Clip it. Let's go.
I am the game changer.
Hello, and welcome to the TWSN Patreon page. Here we will provide you with the sports betting tips, picks, and information in order for you to become a successful gambler. We have 5 packages that I think really do an incredible job of providing the information tailored to you, what you want, and what your sports betting needs are. For more information, reach out to the TWSN team, but we have a ton of stuff coming your way. Content from fantasy football, sports betting for UFC, NBA, NHL, and of course, the NFL. We are so excited to be able to bring this service to you, and let us know if there's any more information you need.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down on.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of The Game Changers live on the Right Way Sports Network's YouTube channel. I'm your host, CEO of the Right Way Sports Network, Malik Wright, joined by my co-hosts. We've got Daniel Joseph Alameda, we've got Dash Pedersen, and Cody, you know what? I've kind of got a little bit of beef with you, man. Let me tell you why. The show hasn't even started, and you showed up more times than me.
Look, I was just about to say something on that because I was like, I could get used to seeing more and more of me in this show. Like, at the end of the day, maybe we put something at the end of the show with me too. Like, just to really go full circle here, like to use all that terrible office lingo, but we're gonna bring it back around. But it's great, man. Look, when you got a face like mine, you got to put it all over the place.
Absolutely. Cody did an amazing job, guys. And if you guys didn't see, we came out with our betting service here at TWSN. We dropped the TWSN betting service. We've got 5 packages, and Mr. Danny Alameda is going to tell you what those are really, really quickly before we jump into the show. Daniel, tell people what the 5 packages are.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got, it's all sports centric. We got the rookie package, we got the starter, the veteran, the Hall of Famer, and of course, we got the GOAT package. We already have somebody signed up for the GOAT package. We got our first GOAT package. And guys, listen, it's going to be a great time, right? Rookie, we're giving you basic betting advice. Then for the starter package, you're getting a little bit more. Then the veteran package, that's where it's at. You're getting full UFC fight card prediction. You're getting a full NFL weekly predictions. You're getting everything. Right. Yeah. And then for our Hall of Fame package, you're getting involved. You get a guest appearance on the TWSN live show. Maybe you can come join us on the Game Changers. Just maybe. But you got to sign up.
Or the Cody Game Changers. He's on everything now.
Exactly. And then for our GOAT package, you got personalized betting advice from Malik Wright, the CEO and NFL Insider. But make sure you guys go check that out, right? It's on our Patreon. You guys can see every single thing we got on there. Our betting analysts, they're putting in a ton of work for you guys, and we're going to win some money. So,
absolutely. And shout out to everybody who followed Cody as well on Twitter. When we literally said, yo, let's get my man Smash Hit Sports to I think the original goal was 1,500. I said, let's get him to 1,600. We can get there. And shout out to everybody who followed him. Shout out to Bannon in the comment section who made the TWSN theme song. We're pumped, guys. Also, next week you'll see some new faces on the Game Changers. Aiden Mayer will be joining us for the next few weeks on the Game Changers as an additional co-host. So we have a lot to talk about. Alex will be joining us later on in the show. So much more to get into. But with that being said, guys, let's kick it off in the NFL. This is the final week of preseason. I hate to see preseason end. I'm kidding. I love to see preseason end because when preseason ends, that means we're that much closer to football. The only downside to this year is we have that 1 week break where there's no NFL action. So it's like, what are we going to be talking about? Baseball?
College football, baby.
Oh, yeah,
it's
college
week
football.
0. If you don't think that I'm going to be absolutely glued watching San Diego State play on Saturday night, you are out of your mind because I'm going to sit there. I'm going to watch every game. UTEP, give me Hawaii, all of those teams. Nebraska, Illinois, nothing like a Big Ten game that's going to end with like 20 total points scored. I mean, it's going to be beautiful. I'm a big fan of the old, early college football start. But the preseason, we're going into week 3, right? And we have a couple teams who've already gone out and named their starters, right? Jacksonville's named Trevor Lawrence. Teddy Bridgewater has been officially named the starter in Denver. How are we surprised by some of this stuff? Like, how do we feel about the quarterback landscape as we think we know what we're seeing headed into this last week of the preseason?
Yeah. So the first thing is Jameis Winston, man. I want to save him for a little bit later so Malik can be here, but Jameis Winston deserves to win that spot. But let's talk about Bridgewater and Drew Lock. I think first off, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the safe guy. He's going to get you the 8 and the 9 wins. But Drew Lock gives you the upside. This Broncos roster, in my opinion, if you get a talented quarterback, it's a Super Bowl roster. It may be a hot take, but look at that defense. That defense is going to be top 5 this year. Vic Fangio's a monster. I'm just a little shocked because Drew Lock has been playing pretty damn good in the preseason. I understand that Bridgewater's the more consistent guy, but I'm just shocked that you're going away from Drew Lock after you passed up on your guy Justin Fields in the draft, right? If you weren't sold on Drew Lock, I don't know why you didn't go after a guy like Justin Fields. So I'm a little shocked as to why they picked Teddy Bridgewater.
Look, to me, Teddy Bridgewater is just a floor guy. What he does is he raises your floor. He's going to get you those 8-9 wins. He's going to be okay. He's not going to turn the ball over a ton, but he's not going to do too much in terms of providing touchdowns just from him. I don't know if I'm still kind of not sure whether or not I love it or I hate it, because Drew Lock he's one of those guys where am I getting 3 touchdowns, no picks, and 400 yards, or am I getting 140 yards, 3 picks, and I missed 7 wide open receivers? Like you don't know. And while I agree with you, Daniel, in saying that this is a Super Bowl roster with an elite quarterback, even with Drew Lock's upside, I don't think that is a Super Bowl team. I think if you're talking about the elite quarterback play of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, if he went to Denver, I know there's some speculation earlier about that. Like, if you had a guy like Rodgers, yes, this is a Super Bowl team, but even with Drew Lock's upside, that's still, to me, to take you to the Super Bowl because of the times that he's going to have where he goes 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, and just loses you the game by himself.
Yeah, my thought on the whole Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater situation is, like, I understand, you know, what you got with Teddy B, and, like, he's a good, feasible starting quarterback. Do not get me wrong. But you're in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. How are you going to go out there and let Teddy – like, it's like being down 4, getting into field goal range and kicking a field goal. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you're still going to lose. So I get it. Drew Lock's still not the answer either. Like, I think they go, and I think that – the Denver Broncos are kind of setting themselves up to go make a play at a free agent quarterback. I'm not going to name names, but it might sound like Smarin Smodgers after this season's over. But at the same, like, we're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater. Like, they'll win a couple games. Teddy 2 gloves. Like, the wide receivers are good, so they'll be fine offensively, but they aren't going to be able to put up points with the likes of LA and Kansas City.
I wish we had the clip. A few months ago, Daniel and I had the awesome opportunity to interview Shelby Harris, who's the defensive tackle for the Denver Broncos, and he said, you know, he's sticking with Lock. Lock is his guy. You know, he believes that Lock has a lot of upside. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries have hurt Lock. This sucks for me personally because Drew Lock was the second-ranked quarterback in the draft behind Kyler Murray for me that year, and I think he has a tremendous upside. I think that, unfortunately, I don't think his play has been indicative of what he's actually capable of doing inside the National Football League. I think injuries have taken a toll on him, and I think that, you know, Nader, one of our guys here at TWSN, he put it so eloquently earlier today on Twitter. He says, "So you mean to tell me that you passed up on Fields just to not give, you know, Drew Lock another opportunity to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos?" To me, this is the type of stuff. Right, and I'm going to get real personal here. This is the type of stuff that breaks quarterbacks. This is the type of stuff that makes quarterbacks, you know, not realize their potential. This reminds me a lot of like a Carson Wentz type of deal. And what do I mean by that? When Carson Wentz was in Philly, he never got I would say outside of maybe 1 year, he really never got a fair shake. He always had somebody breathing down his neck. And I understand it. It's a business at the end of the day, right? You want to win. You're in the business of winning championships, winning Super Bowls. But this could change his career trajectory, because to give up on a quarterback this soon, and it just shows you that the National Football League has transitioned into an impatient league. I mean, with head coaches, with quarterbacks, with anybody, with first round picks. If you don't automatically come in and you're not a stud, we're kicking you out the building. That's pretty much what it's like. And unfortunately, I think that's simply what's going to happen to Drew Lock. Drew Lock is going to be kicked, pretty much kicked to the curb. And how do you recover from this? Like, let's actually talk about it. How does Drew Lock recover from this? Does anybody want to weigh in on that? Because I don't see him not with the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock is not recovering with the Denver Broncos from this.
100%.
He goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. He goes to the
Right.
Philadelphia Eagles and throws the ball 70 yards down the field to a guy named Jalen Reagor, who's got some elite speed. Hurts isn't going to be able to do it. Hurts is going to be better for Devontae Smith. But I think, just throwing it out there, the Eagles don't have a quarterback right now for the future, as far as I'm concerned. And Drew Lock is a guy who potentially could do it. I like what Nader says in the comment. He got swag. I hope he gets another chance. Once I saw him rapping the Young Jeezy on the sideline, I was like, yes, Drew Lock's my guy. But same time, you really just have to do it on the football field. And if you're not getting it done every time, it makes sense to me that a few years into this, he doesn't get the starting job anymore.
Well, what is this? His third year?
Yeah, I think he's what, 2018 draft, right?
Crazy. That's crazy. This is his third year in the NFL, and we're already like, nah. To me, it just shows how impatient the National Football League has become. Listen, I'm just especially hurt from this because I'm a huge Drew Lock believer. I actually believe in the guy. I studied his tape. I believe that if given a fair opportunity, he could shock a lot of people and turn a lot of heads. He's got the arm. He's got the moxie. He's got everything you look for. I'm not going to say that word that everybody knows I hate. I'm not going to say that.
Intangibles.
Yeah, that word.
I'll do it.
The I word, the cuss word. I call that a cuss word. But no, I just think that it's unfortunate, honestly, to see Drew Lock be kicked to the curb like this. And I can't imagine what this does for his confidence. Let's talk about it. Teddy Bridgewater also does struggle staying healthy. Like, what is Teddy Bridgewater going to give you that Drew Lock won't give you? Like, we saw Teddy Bridgewater we saw Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota. We saw Teddy Bridgewater with the Jets. We saw Teddy Bridgewater with the Broncos. With the Panthers.
Yeah, but we've seen Teddy Bridgewater with the Saints too, and he went 5-0 in that time.
That was cool, but it's the Saints. Now we got a defensive head coach in Vic Fangio.
Well, and I think that's the combination here, right? If you're going to go, you can't double down on being conservative. I think that's what because Vic Fangio's already conservative, and now he's doubling down on being conservative by starting Teddy Bridgewater.
Defensive-minded coaches like to be conservative and like to protect the football. That they don't like to play that risk and reward game. And okay, well, if that's the case, you should have when the offseason came and you knew that this was going to be the case. And I personally believe Vic Fangio always knew that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be his guy this year. Because there's no other reason why you would go out there and bring a guy like Teddy Bridgewater in. If you knew that was going to be the case, you should have done right by Drew Lock and probably trade him. That's what you should have done. But you're in a league with you said it yourself, Cody, and Daniel and I were talking about this the other day. The Broncos are in a division with killers, with teams that are going to they can literally at any point in time put 40 up on your head. Teddy Bridgewater's not putting 40 points up for your team. No. He's just not doing that. And with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, even the Raiders to some degree can score when they get going. I don't see it.
Yeah, me neither.
Daniel, I know you kept looking like you wanted to say something throughout the entire time we were chatting.
No, I can't say I don't get it, but you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. It's Vic Fangio being conservative, and that's the issue for me. This roster is a win now roster, right? You got guys like Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. I think they already re-signed them, but all these guys, they're getting older. And you do on the receiving core have young guys, but this roster looks like a win now mode. And just to see them go this entire offseason, act like Drew Lock was going to be their quarterback, and then you get this quarterback competition with Teddy Bridgewater, and now you're going conservative. This team has no ceiling this year. Their ceiling is maybe a wild card team, but I don't see them winning a playoff game this year.
Yeah, so I want to also say my condolences. I want to have a moment of silence. My condolences, moment of silence for all of those who drafted Jerry Jeudy in fantasy football, who thought this is the year Jerry Jeudy is going to break out For those of you who drafted KJ Hamler and was like, they're going to be a high, potent passing offense. Daniel, and I know you like to play devil's advocate, Daniel.
Robbie Anderson had a damn good year for me last year.
There were two quarterbacks who were able to put up top 30 there were two quarterbacks who were able to sustain 3 top 30 fantasy wide receivers last year. Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
This is Teddy Bridgewater and Ben Roethlisberger. Neither one of them great NFL quarterbacks at this stage in their careers. Absolutely, Jerry Jeudy can be fantasy viable.
So you want to hear my take on that, though?
Let's hear it.
They don't have Joe Brady in Denver. They don't have Joe Brady in Denver. Their offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, is Pat Shermer?
I believe so.
Mr. Conservative. You want to see it? Go look at what he did with the Minnesota Vikings. Go look what he did with the New York Giants. Protect the football.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So look, I understand it. If Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator walking through the door, I'm like, hell yeah, Jerry Jeudy's gonna have a great year. He's not though. He's in Carolina. Let's keep it going, guys. Jimmy G, Trey Lance. Jimmy G versus Trey Lance. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what the hell the 49ers are gonna do here. Ideally, I think that they should, and I say that very, very lightly, stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. But then again, it's that person breathing down your neck. Like, you just know it's a matter of time. If Jimmy G gets hurt, if Jimmy G has a bad stretch, you just know it's a matter of time before that person is literally salivating at the lips to take your spot. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Should the Niners take Jimmy Garoppolo, or should they go with Trey Lance? Dash, you've been kind of quiet there. You're also in California right now. Well, I'm sorry, you're going to be in California soon. So let's get your take on it.
Jimmy G is my guy right here. In this situation, that's just who makes sense. I think that this is a good enough roster to go on a playoff run. I don't know if they have the opportunity to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think so. I don't think either quarterback this year is going to be bringing the Niners a chip. But, I mean, Jimmy G is going to provide you with better football play at this point. I think after that one throw we saw from Trey Lance at the beginning of the preseason, people were calling for Trey Lance Hall of Fame, first ballot. It's going to happen. Like, start him now. He's going to be the next Joe Montana in San Francisco. And, no. I think we need to calm down. I think we need to realize that he's a rookie and that he did struggle later in that game, and that there's a lot more to football than making that occasional big play. I think that it's going to be a slight tandem of the two throughout the year, in the sense that you got Trey Lance coming in for run packages. I think it could be a cool goal line type of formation, especially with Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure he's going to do some neat things, but no, we're not gonna see Trey Lance for a little while. I think it's definitely going to be Jimmy G's job for a bit, but that is hoping that he doesn't get injured.
So what I'm going to say is Trey Lance is starting this year. Like I have no doubt in my mind, right? If you think that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want to see this again, they want to see this whole entire story play out again, where this is a Super Bowl roster. If you look at their offense, Kyle Shanahan, the offensive mastermind, is still there. Top 5 offensive line. Their running back committee, oh my God, even in the preseason, they're still running the same exact offense, and it's working, right? The zone run scheme, the motion of Brandon Ayuk, the getting Deebo Samuel in motion as well. Jimmy G's going to start this year, and he deserves to. And Trey Lance, if you start him this year, he will struggle. But at some point this year, Jimmy's going to get hurt. At some point this year, Jimmy is going to struggle, and that's when you throw in Trey Lance.
We don't want to wish that on him, though. We don't want to wish that on him.
At some point, something will happen where Trey Lance deserves to take the chance, whether it's 8 weeks in, whether it's 14. We saw it with Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar barely started week 10, I think, his rookie year. He played about 6-7 games his rookie year, made the playoffs. I think it's the same exact story, right? As I said, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they know this is their guy. All offseason, all preseason, they know this is who they're slowly going to migrate into their team. And Jimmy G even knows it too. So Jimmy G's your starter, but Trey Lance is going to take over at some point because he has the potential to take this team over the top.
Cody, you've been sitting quiet. I feel like you're the lion is waiting to stalk his prey. What do you got to say, my man?
Look, here's the deal. Trey Lance is the better player. Trey Lance is the better player. And I hate the idea of, we'll wait until he's ready and we'll throw him in mid-season. I hate that concept because he's practicing with the twos until he goes in and he's like, hey, one's this week, let's go. I understand that that's what happens with a lot of guys who get drafted, especially as early as Trey Lance went.
Mm-hmm.
He will get some run at some point this year. And I don't think Jimmy G injury regardless, I think he gets some run, especially if that offense starts to get stagnant. They have a tough stretch where they get Packers, Seahawks, Niners, Colts, Bears, Cardinals, Rams. That's a lot of good teams and pretty solid defenses back to back to back to back to back. If they struggle, the 49ers faithful is a strong fan base, and they will be calling for Trey Lance.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I guess we'll see. We know that Jimmy G is going to start off as the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers to start the season, but it'll be interesting to see. I think, I don't know, I always find the lame duck quarterback scenario very interesting. But keeping it going, guys, we're going to move over to Cam Newton versus Mac Jones. Who's the starter in New England? I think we get that answer this week, but in my eyes, it probably should be Mac Jones, but it's going to be Cam Newton. Because
that's exactly how I feel, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Cam Newton. Cody, you want to elaborate on that or anything like that?
No, it's Cam Newton. I understand that people are making this big ass.
You could say it. You could say it.
This big ass commotion about.
There we go.
Oh,
we are not a PG-13 show. I promise you.
Yeah, look, sometimes you gotta. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, so you gotta.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
But
I got you.
the kids, right? It's for the kids.
Yeah.
But they're making this entirely ridiculous commotion that that they're so because Cam Newton's going to miss some time because of COVID protocols, and Bill Belichick's always been team first. And, if Mac Jones is going to put the team first and do all the right things, look, that is Boston media to a T. You've seen it with every Boston sports team that's in the last 10 years. It's always been, they just do things differently. It's a championship city. Like, that's just the Boston mentality.
That's the mantra.
Yeah.
The
whatever.
Patriot way.
Look, Cam Newton's better, like at this point, and he's more ready to win games. And if you think Bill Belichick is going to sacrifice anything at the expense of winning games, you have not watched any Patriots football in the last 20 years. He's going to put whoever is the best quarterback out there to win each and every week. And right now it's Cam Newton.
Cody,
it might be Mac Jones at some point in the season, but right now it's Cam Newton.
Let me add to that, Cody. So if you know one thing about Bill Belichick, what is he? He's the epitome of consistency. Yeah. He likes consistent. For all of you guys that are screaming Mac Jones should start week 1, and I see it. I do see people saying that. Again, it's always nice. The nice shiny new toy comes into town, and you get to sick of playing with the old toy, right? Even though the old toy was just bought last year. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, Bill Belichick plays the best players, right? Cody alluded to that earlier. If he's not starting Mac Jones, there's something that he's not seeing. There's something that makes him believe they can't, that Cam Newton gives them a better chance to win than Mac Jones. Because Bill Belichick has never been interested in people's opinion. They traded Sony Michel. You know why I heard they traded Sony Michel, guys? Everybody's like, oh, Sony Michel just isn't working out. No, it's because they got a new guy that played his ass off this season named Ramondre Stevenson. Bill Belichick does not care if you're a rookie. Bill Belichick does not care if you're a 10-year vet. He plays the best players. That being said, Mac Jones has impressed Bill Belichick, which is why Mac Jones is going to be the starter for the New York Football Giants against the New York Football Giants this upcoming preseason week. And then it'll be Cam Newton to follow because Cam Newton should be active for that game because he's coming back to practice tomorrow. But Daniel, you're the Patriots fan. Let's hear your thoughts on who should be the starter for your New England Patriots.
By season end, it's Mac Jones, right? That's what I'm talking about. But week 1, it's interesting, right? Because all offseason I've been saying, you gotta slowly but surely get Cam Newton, get Mac Jones, slowly but surely into the system. He's impressed Josh McDaniels. McDaniels already said it. He's impressed Bill Belichick. All preseason, Cam hasn't played bad. Cam's by the numbers has played better than Mac Jones, but Mac Jones has gotten more run in preseason. Mac Jones has been running with the ones just as much as Cam Newton, and he's been moving the ball just as well as Cam Newton. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm starting Mac Jones week 1. If I'm the Patriots, I'm starting Mac Jones week 1, and you got to roll with your guy. He's been playing great all preseason, all offseason. Roll with your guy. He's the future of your team. He's the guy you drafted in the first round, and I don't see a reason why not.
I could think of 14 million reasons why not. Quite frankly, 14 million reasons.
What are they?
It's every dollar that Cam Newton is being paid to be the New England
And
Patriots.
$5 million.
That's where you're mistaken. That's where you're mistaken, Cody. Because if you're taking the money aspect behind it, screw the money. What does Bill Belichick want to do this year? He wants to win. We know last year.
This is how delusional Patriots fans sound right now. Just calling out I see it.
Listen, I'm not like that. Listen, because I know this team is going to have their struggles this year. But last year, they won 7 games. Bill Belichick isn't interested in 7, right? He doesn't care how much money Cam Newton is winning or making. He doesn't care. He wants the best possible chance to win every single week. And Mac Jones right now, it's a toss-up, but I'm giving this slight edge to Mac Jones.
Why?
I don't know. What I've seen.
No, we know why. We know why. You're giving the slight edge to Mac Jones because he's the new shiny toy, and you saw.
Why are you
Jones.
going to give it a?
Wait, hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
And you saw Mac Jones throw against second team defenses, and he looks very, very good. That's what you see. Now we're going to see him on Sunday going against the Giants starters, right? We're going to see but apparently he looks great in practice. This is not a Mac Jones slander campaign. I am an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. I've been waiting for a real Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback to come into the NFL and actually do well. Hopefully it's Mac Jones. I thought it was going to be AJ McCarron. Showed you how much I know. But that all being said, this is not about that. This is about who gives them the best opportunity to win. I think we have not seen Mac Jones go up against number ones yet. We don't know what he's going to look like. We've seen very, elementary type plays for him. We want to see him. I want to see him in stressful situations. I want to see Azeez Ojulari coming off the edge. Do not just throw the towel in on Cam Newton just yet, because we want to talk about it. Cam Newton did. Daniel, hold on. Cam Newton also looked impressive last preseason game. He did.
He was like 8 for 9, right?
But apparently everybody wants to just overlook that and be like, oh, no, start Mac Jones. Cam Newton looked very impressive last preseason game. So if we're going to nitpick and we're going to say, oh, this and the third, you got to show me a little more than just, oh, I'm going with a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling. Oh, just how I feel. No. Like you want to put the best person in that's going to give you a chance to win. The fact of the matter is, Bill Belichick is the epitome of consistency. Unless Cam Newton gets hurt or something like that, Cam Newton will be their starter for most of the entire year. Unless, because Bill Belichick is not going to make a change midseason. He's just not going to do that. That's not his MO.
Yep.
It's not his MO. It's never has been. And Bill Belichick, we literally have over a decade of proof. We can even date back to his days in Cleveland. He even had a situation in Cleveland where his quarterback was struggling. He waited until the offseason to make a change, even though he had the guy on his roster already that would have been the starting quarterback. That's the type of guy we're dealing with in Bill Belichick. Doesn't make a change. No matter how much fans clamor for it, you should know it the Patriot way. He doesn't give a damn what the New England Patriot, what the fans are screaming for. He doesn't care about that. He has his process and he sticks to it. So regardless of what people are clamoring for, Bill Belichick will start week 1, whoever he sees fit. And that will be the person leading them unless injury says otherwise. Let's keep it going, though, guys. Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields. For selfish reasons, Cody, for selfish reasons, I want to see Andy Dalton start up until week 2. I'm
going to be honest. They're going to be calling for his head at halftime of week 1. The Rams are going to go up 21-0 on him. Mm-hmm. And the Chicago is – the thing about – the situation too, right, is it'd be one thing if Justin Fields was in Green Bay where they've had good quarterback play in the past, or Atlanta where they've had good quarterback play in the past, or literally anywhere except for the Chicago Bears where they have never seen a 4,000-yard passer in the history of their long-esteemed franchise. Their quarterback, the last time that they had a quarterback start all 16 games of a season was Jay Cutler, which outside of a phenomenal head of hair was not that great of a quarterback. Justin Fields is everything this Bears franchise has wanted and then some. And not only that, but he has been substantially better than Andy Dalton in the preseason thus far. Andy Dalton has not looked sharp. He has not looked sharp at all in this and he's not dynamic. He doesn't bring what you want to the field. I think Justin Fields gets run very quickly. I think Andy Dalton will start week 1, right? They've already said
He'll start
that.
week 2 as well.
Yeah, and then when the Bears fall to 0-2 after losing to the Rams and the Bengals, they will have no choice but to start Justin Fields. No choice.
Yep, I agree.
I think the choice is by looking at the offensive line, because the offensive line does not look good this preseason. The Bears have been allowing a lot of pressures. Again, you can say it's preseason all you want, but I mean, like, their O-line is not – it isn't shaping up well. I mean, like, their tackles kind of suck. Like, I'm sorry, like Jermaine Ifedi and Elijah Wilkinson are currently the projected starters, neither of whom I'm high on in any way. Jason Peters is a backup. Like, he's not going to do anything. I mean, I don't love Sam Mustipher as a center. Like, he's all right. He was working with Olin Kreutz in the offseason, Bears legend. But at the same time, this O-line might just get Justin Fields killed if Justin Fields comes in week 2. 15 weeks behind an offensive line like that is not something I want to see for a rookie quarterback, especially having just watched what happened to the number 1 overall pick last season. I mean, yeah, this is going to be certainly a situation to keep an eye on. I don't know exactly when Fields gets the keys from Dalton. I do think it's pretty inevitable this season. I do think that Nagy is going to listen to the fans. He isn't of the Belichick mold where he just doesn't care one bit. I mean, I'm sure he can separate it, but at the same time, management is probably going to be on the, hey, we got this shiny new toy. Show the fans some reason to still like us.
So I'm gonna make 3 bold predictions. Here are my 3 bold predictions. Andy Dalton will be the Bears starting quarterback week 1, week 2. He'll probably not finish week 2 because they'll probably pull him in the 4th quarter. How bad the Bengals beat them. The second prediction, I'm just being honest right now. The second thing is, Sean Desai, the Bears will have a terrible defense this year. Let me just talk about Sean Desai for a second. Dash, I loved what you said. You said people want to scream out it's preseason. Preseason, you want to see fundamentals still. You still want to see the fundamentals still being followed. This Bears team, I'm a defensive guy. I don't know what type of coverage they were running against the Bills. I don't know what they were doing against the Bills. They couldn't get pressure with Khalil Mack. They couldn't get pressure with Robert Quinn. They couldn't tackle. I don't know what the hell he was doing personally. And it was one play. It was one play out there pretty much where they got a fumble. It was like in the 4th quarter, and he's like celebrating, like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, that's like, you guys have not shown up all game. You got blown out in the preseason game. You against Mitchell Trubisky of all people. Like, this is no knock against Mitchell Trubisky, no knock against the Bills. I'm just saying, you want to see some type of, I don't know, just like better than what they've shown thus far in the preseason. So that was one of my predictions. The Bears defense will suck this year. Matt Nagy's going to get fired at the end of the year. He's going to start Justin Fields probably week 3. He's still a rookie at the end of the day, still green, right? There's still a lot of things you got to learn. But we've seen this all happen where the coach tries to where a coach pretty much tries to start the rookie as the last ditch effort to pretty much make a case. I don't think the Bears will have a very good football season. I think the next year when they bring in like a guy like Brian Dable, right? They're going to be like, holy crap, we saw what the damn Bills did to us in preseason. Let's bring in Brian Dable. If he's able to fix Mitchell Trubisky, what can he do with Justin Fields? Brian Dable and Justin Fields would do wonders together. But Matt Nagy, this is his last year coaching the Chicago Bears. Who are we kidding? I just feel bad for Bears fans. Hold on, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be a bumpy ride this season. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the whole quarterback thing, Dash hit the nail on the head. It's offensive line. Bears fans aren't talking about it enough, or before last week they weren't, and then now they're like, oh my God, I don't want him to play, because that's the whole thing. He's going to play because he's your new quarterback. He's the stud. He's your future franchise guy. But that's bad. I'm sorry, I hate to bring up the Bengals, but you don't want that. You don't want your guy getting killed. You don't want Justin Fields getting killed. And I don't wish injury upon him, but I'm just scared for him, man. So it'll be a good learning experience for him all season. He's going to be able to play with the worst offensive line hopefully he'll ever play with in his entire career. But start Andy Dalton as long as you can for the sake of Justin Fields. But Malik, I agree with you. Matt Nagy, I've been on the train of he's got to get fired, and this is the year where I'm not a fan of their team. Take the under on 7.5 wins.
Yeah. Ooh, Daniel putting out little future prop bets out there.
Ooh,
You heard that?
I don't hate that. That Daniel, the only thing that I do disagree with is the start Andy Dalton as long as you can. You can't protect guys in the NFL, right? Like that, you can't sit here and baby Justin Fields and say, well, we don't want him to get really good experience because we're scared that he might get hurt. You can't play scared in the NFL. Like, you have to get your guys shots, because I tell you what's more detrimental than your quarterback getting hurt is not giving your quarterback a fair shake. And if they don't give, Justin Fields a fair shake while he's if he is winning the camp battle or winning the quarterback battle every day of practice, you're going to lose that locker room real quick. You're going to lose those guys real quick because they know that you are not putting them in the best position to win. Because everybody in the NFL, say what you want, they all want to win football games.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying 4 weeks. Give him 4 weeks. Like, if you give him 4 weeks, that means he starts 12 games.
Conservative Andy. We love to see it. Oh, guys, want to keep it going. Jameis Winston. Jameis Crab Legs Winston. Daniel, you know that I used to always call. Daniel, do it for the people, Daniel. Do it for the people. Yo. It's been so long since Daniel's done that, guys. There's literally a video, a video that went viral of Daniel literally, doing the Jameis.
That's my
Winston.
boy, man.
Yeah. Well, he's going against a backup tight end for the starting quarterback job for the New Orleans Saints. Why? I don't know. But I don't even feel the need to really discuss this so much. If Jameis Winston cannot turn the football over, he's a very good quarterback. He led the NFL in passing yards and in touchdowns at one point with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want to see the guy work out. I hope he works out in New Orleans. Listen, Sean Payton. Wow, it's so many Sean McVay, Sean Payton, a bunch of Sean McDermott, Sean Chonabroff. No, but Sean Payton made Teddy Bridgewater look very, very good. I hope he can do that with Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston looked very good in the preseason. But then again, as everyone likes to say, it's just preseason, right? But I think Jameis Winston should absolutely be the quarterback. He shouldn't even be in a battle with a backup tight end. What are your thoughts, Cody?
I mean, I know you say just it's preseason or whatever, so let's just look at the last, not preseason pass. Last year, Jameis Winston completed 100% of his passes, and every single one of them went for a touchdown. It's kind of good. But in all seriousness, he is substantially better than Taysom Hill. Mm-hmm. It's not – Taysom Hill is a nice, it's – using Taysom Hill as your quarterback is essentially what the Miami Dolphins did with Ronnie Brown in that Wildcat formation all those years ago. Is it throws the defense for a loop. It's a change of pace. It is another wrinkle that opposing defenses have to prepare for, but it's not a strategy. You don't win games by going Wildcat. So it is what it is. Jabu's going to get another shot. Love the guy. I think he's going to be successful. Say what you want about Jameis Winston, good, bad, or indifferent. The man is exciting, and I love watching exciting football. So I will be tuned into a lot of Saints games.
He's just not good at getting people pumped up. That's all.
Those speeches are bad, man. They aren't good.
Yeah.
Listen,
how many want to eat a W tonight?
You strong? Then we strong then.
Let me see if I can find the video. But continue, Daniel. Continue.
Yeah, no, I don't know. He's a funny guy, man. Even in the interviews, I know we interviewed him at TWSN here. He's a funny guy, but listen, he gives your team a chance. Like Taysom Hill, Cody, you hit the nail on the head. He's gonna be a good complimentary piece. Throw him in on third downs. Get a nice little run package going. But Jameis gives your team a chance, right? We understand right now this roster, they have a damn good roster. So give them a chance. Jameis is going to put the guys in position to really push the ball downfield, something where Drew Brees, it's a change of pace. Drew Brees was consistent, conservative, over the middle. Jameis gives your team a chance, and we saw it. He led the team, the NFL in touchdowns, led the NFL in passing yards. Give the man a chance.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Jameis Winston should be the starter train. I talked about it a little bit yesterday on the TWSN show, but I don't know if this New Orleans team is the greatest fit for him right now. I think he's in the position where he has to take every opportunity he's going to get. But like Malik said, Teddy B looked really good in this Saints offense. And in my eyes, Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston are almost polar opposites at the quarterback position. Teddy B is conservative, and I mean, to put it simply, yeah, Teddy B is conservative. Jameis Winston is hyper aggressive. And like that's just it's very different. And I think going from a guy who you've had for the last 35 years in Drew Brees, who is like a super consistent, super just conservative guy, like when he plays football, he obviously makes plenty of big plays, but he's great. He's known for being super efficient and super conservative. Check down king. But I don't see Jameis reaching his full potential in this system. I think this is still an offense built for the quicker pass game, and utilizing guys like Kamara, utilizing guys when Michael Thomas comes back like him. And let's see this dub eating.
I want everybody to look at me. I'm going to pass it to corner after I say one thing. Let's go. That's a W. That's E1. That's E1. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight? How many eat a W tonight? Yeah. Come in.
Sorry, that video will never get old. And the funniest thing about it was his teammate had to come in and save the speech.
I don't know if you saw it, but even there was another speech where in the locker room, the other quarterback, he told Jameis, he's like, I don't know about that speech, man. Like, search it up. It's Jameis is a wily guy.
Oh, he's a beautiful soul.
We're on the wild side today on the Game Changers, guys, where you can tell football's back because we're excited. We're all loose and everything like that. We're just talking about the funny stuff. But I want to keep the conversation going. We're all in agreement that J-Bo should get another opportunity to be the Saints starting quarterback. Cody, this is your realm now. This is where I shut the hell up and we let you talk, right? We're gonna later in the show, we're gonna talk about overrated and underrated teams, but we want to start with fantasy football sleepers. Who are some fantasy football sleepers, Cody?
Okay. So if you guys know me, you know that I am a massive, massive fantasy guy. Check out the Twitter. But we're putting out a lot of really cool fantasy content. And I'm going to give you one guy. I was like, we put this into the group text and you're like, what do I want to do for fantasy sleepers? I'm going to give you one guy that I'm keeping my eye on for each position, right? Because I think it's fair. We got to spread the love. My first, you take a guy. He had 33 passing touchdowns last year. Then you give him one of the best weapons in the history of football. And people are drafting him outside of the top 10. And we're like, what's going on here? Or right around that top 10 area. We are sleeping on Ryan Tannehill. The dude can move. The dude can run. The guy was a wide receiver at Texas A&M before he transitioned to quarterback. He's talented. And then they bring in Julio Jones in addition to A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. That offense, the Titans offense is going to move. And more importantly, they're going to have to put up points because that defense, quite frankly, stinks. So I am all in on Ryan Tannehill as a sleeper quarterback this year. He's a guy that I have in a lot of leagues. Big, big fan of Ryan Tannehill. The running back, right? And I know we have a lot of running back news that Travis Etienne possibly out for the season with the Lynn Frank injury. Yeah. You hate to see it, especially for a rookie. And I was really excited for him and Trevor to play together. But there are a couple running backs that, you can find towards the later rounds that I'm really, really excited for. And you mentioned him, Malik. And I'm trying to grab this guy like towards the back end of every round or every draft that I'm in. And it's Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. And it's for all the reasons that we discussed about Cam Newton and Mac Jones. Bill Belichick has never been afraid to play the better player. And right now there is one man on that roster who is sitting between Ramondre Stevenson, who is dominant at Oklahoma, and a full NFL workload, and that's Damian Harris, who one has not been able to stay healthy for a full career or for a full season. And two, isn't incredibly talented. Well, there's nothing about Damian Harris that really strikes fear in the heart of a defense, right? Ramondre Stevenson can do that. He's shown to have the breakaway speed. He's big, beefy, can absolutely sustain on the goal line. He is a guy who can win you your league if the dominoes fall in the right spot. Now, he could just be a backup and a decent handcuff, but you're not paying a premium price to get him. The absolute sleeper, love him.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, right? This is where the bread and butter is made, right? Like wide receivers, everybody's like, ooh, like and I'm going to talk about the number one wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're going to go, no, Jaguars, rookie quarterback. How many touchdowns are they going to put up? Marvin Jones, his entire career, has been the model of consistency, outperforming his ADP or average draft position in fantasy, and quite frankly, finding the end zone. It's what he's always been good at. And when you look at that Jacksonville Jaguars offense, they have a guy in DJ Chark who is not an incredibly efficient wide receiver in the red zone, and Laviska Shenault, who's a gadget guy, a very talented gadget guy, but a gadget guy at that. Marvin Jones is going to be the red zone target for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That defense still stinks. They are still going to be playing from behind a lot. And in an offense that should have quite a bit of passing volume, he's being taken as like the 40th-ish wide receiver off the board. There's no reason for that. Zero reason for that. Then the last, all right, we're going to hit tight end, right? Shout out JT Kremer. Love a little audience input. But last guy, tight end. Finished as the tight end 4 last year. Nothing around him changed. They did not bring in any wide receivers outside of an old Packer wide receiver in Randall Cobb. Mm-hmm. And Robert Tonyan's being drafted outside of the top 10. And they're like, well, the amount of touchdowns he scored last year is unsustainable. I'm not a brilliant football mind by any means. But if you're going to draft a tight end and you're going to depend on him to score touchdowns, why wouldn't you do it in an offense that's led by Aaron Rodgers? And I get that, the tight end landscape is so, very top heavy with Kelsey, Kittle, Waller. You're going to have to pay a premium to get those guys. Give me Robert Tonyan. The dude is a touchdown machine. And they added nobody. They actually lost people in Jamal Williams who got, quite a bit of end zone run last year. Give me Big Bob Tonyan. I love him.
Tonyan.
The dude's an onion ring, like a cheese curd personified in Wisconsin, and I just love that for him. He's going to dominate. Love him there in that tight end landscape that is so fun.
Can I ask you? Football. Well, let me ask you a question, and I'm asking you this not because I'm in a league or anything like that, not because this guy's a free agent or anything like that. By the way, in the meantime, while you and me were speaking, I meant to do it earlier. You reminded me. Ramondre Stevenson. I just picked him up. He went undrafted in my free agency. He went undrafted in our draft, and I just picked him up.
Might do that right now.
Dash is like kind of staring at me right now, and Dash is in my league that I'm actually in. So this next guy, I want to get your opinion on. So I have Jonnu Smith, right? Mm-hmm. Jonnu Smith, and I got Noah Fant, sorry. Well, there's a guy right now at the tight end position named Austin Hooper in my league who's a free agent. I don't know why he's a free agent. What are your thoughts on that?
Volume is king in fantasy. Yeah. Always has been, always will be, right? The guys who get the most touches score the most points. And when you look at the top of the tight end landscape, you have guys who lead their team in targets or very close to it. Travis Kelce either leads his team in targets or is very close to it, right? He was top of the league or one of the tops of the league in receptions last year behind Stephon Diggs. Then you have Darren Waller, absolutely the number one target in Oakland. George Kittle, the number one target in San Francisco. And the rest of the tight end kind of falls into Hawkinson in Detroit, Andrews in Baltimore, Jonnu in New England. The only issue that I have with Noah Fant is there are a lot of mouths to feed in an offense that's going to be pretty conservative, not incredibly efficient, and they're not going to score a ton of points. Also, you talk about a team that wants to keep it a low-scoring ball game. They have Judy, they have Sutton, they have KJ Hamler, Javonte Williams, and Melvin Gordon. Like, there are a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. He could be good next year.
No. But for all those reasons, that's why I drafted Noah Fant. If you look at what Teddy Bridgewater did when he was in Minnesota, Kyle Rudolph's had some of his most productive years because Teddy Bridgewater loves the tight end. He loves going to the tight end. Unfortunately, he didn't have necessarily like a healthy or that great of a tight end over in Carolina. But now he has that safety net in Denver. He has that guy that's going to be. So that's why I did that, because I know they're going to play conservative. And who is the quarterback's best friend? A tight end.
Okay, that's fine. But then Austin Hooper, right? Free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Browns were 29th in pass attempts last year. They were number 1 in end zone rush or red zone rushing. They run the ball when they get in close, as they should, because it's the strength of their football team. Mike Gesicki. I'm a fan of Mike Gesicki. He's okay. Again, they brought in a ton of weapons into that Miami offense. They're going to spread the ball around. Like, they brought in Waddle for a reason. They brought in Will Fuller for a reason. Like that, the ball is going to be spread around. But with Austin Hooper, like, the thing that concerns me is the passing volume. And again, he's not even the 1 or the number 2 target on his team. He's 3rd behind Odell and behind Jarvis Landry. And then they prefer to run the ball when they get in close anyway.
Yep.
So
I have Nick Chubb.
Yep. Like, Austin Hooper's a great talent, just not great for fantasy.
Absolutely. Daniel, I know you had some.
Yeah, I got a couple. And Cody, I want to hear. I mean, we are in the same league, and I did get a couple of these guys. We'll start off with the running back position. Gus Edwards. Cody, I want to hear your thoughts, because after this, like, Gus Edwards is 1 injury away from being the starting running back. If we looked at their stats last year, J.K. Dobbins at the end of the year really took off. Gus was still getting at least 40% of that workload, right? So I'm a huge fan. We know that Ravens team, they are going to run the ball a ton. So Gus Edwards is 1. 2, Jamal Williams for the Lions. I don't know why people aren't drafting this guy higher, right? DeAndre Swift, we know, injury prone. They have a top 10 offensive line. The Lions' offensive line they're full of studs, right? Jamal Williams in that run-first offense, we know Dan Campbell really wants to pound the rock. If DeAndre Swift gets hurt, Jamal Williams, we saw what he did with the Packers. I love him as a handcuff running back. And for wide receivers, Corey Davis, this guy's a wide receiver 2, a high-end wide receiver 2, maybe even a low-end wide receiver 1 this year. He's their number 1 wide receiver, right? The Jets, Zach Wilson has loved him all training camp, all preseason has loved him. He's a wide receiver 1, and they're going to throw the ball. People are saying, oh, they're going to be a run-first offense. They're going to be playing from behind. Wilson's going to be throwing the ball, and they need a wide receiver 1. Love Corey Davis. And finally, Darnell Mooney. All right, Darnell Mooney last year, I think he had the 4th most broken tackles out of any receiver, right? So that shows he's dynamic with the ball. And touches, he's going to get the ball. He's a wide receiver 2. Anthony Miller's no longer on that team. Love him. And also Marvin Jones. Cody, you hit the nail on the head. Trevor Lawrence, people are saying that he's going to go for a DJ Chark. All training camp, all preseason, his number 1 target has been Marvin Jones.
All right. So we got a couple things to unpack here. So I'm an engineer by trade, right? Numbers flow through me. Big brain math guy over here, if you can't tell, right? Snap percentage is a big thing in fantasy. And I know it's last year, right? And J.K. Dobbins was a rookie, but at the same time, J.K. Dobbins was on the field for 44% of the Ravens snaps. Gus Edwards was on the field for 33. That's not much of a difference. When you look at where they're being drafted in fantasy, there is a massive difference. That's why I love the value on Gus Edwards, because if J.K. Dobbins were to go down, Gus Edwards can dominate. But even if he doesn't, he's still going to be fantasy viable week to week, because that Ravens offense runs the football a ton. And I know that Lamar Jackson is the best runner on that team, and everybody does. But that doesn't mean there's not value in those other guys. So I love Gus Edwards. All right, we're gonna jump. Darnell Mooney, okay, very, very talented. He got a decent target percentage last year. It increased as the year went on. I expect to see more from him. That being said, Andy Dalton concerns me. So I'm not starting him right away. I have him rostered in a couple leagues. I won't start him until Justin Fields gets out there and can really throw the ball down the field. All right, who else did you say? Because
I said Corey Davis and Jamal Williams.
Okay, follow the volume. Number 1 target in a pass-friendly offense that's going to be down a ton. Love Corey Davis. He doesn't need to be incredibly efficient to be fantasy relevant, especially in a PPR league. And he was
real quick. He was wide receiver 30 last year, and he's being drafted as the 50th. Explain that to me.
Look, I think it's part of the name, because he was a top 5 draft pick and people had super high expectations. And then when they don't meet those expectations, they think he fell through the bottom of the barrel. Still a good talent. Jamal Williams, I like. The only issue is if DeAndre, like, I get the handcuffed thing. If DeAndre Swift gets hurt, that's going to be a backfield by committee, and I quite frankly don't feel super confident in it.
Who else?
Also, super inefficient. I get it, but Jamal Williams is a guy who's been injury prone himself, and I just think that's going to be a real polluted backfield real quickly if Swift gets hurt.
So we want to wrap this up, right? Because we want to get to the final topic. But Dash had some actually, so I want to let Dash get to the fantasy guru, Cody. We're over here. So Dash, the floor is yours.
All right, Cody. Look, I got a couple guys here. I'm going for a different option in the Jacksonville receiver room, and that's Laviska Shenault. You touched on it a little bit earlier. He's a gadget guy, and with the number one gadget guy on the team going out for this season in ETN, I do think there was a big role cut out for, like, in this offense for a gadget guy because you spent a top 25 pick on Travis Etienne. I think that role is going to be really prevalent in this offense for Jacksonville, and I think Laviska Shenault currently looks like the biggest guy to fill that, and I think that the potential upside for him is just pretty huge. And then Corey Davis was one of my guys. I've been huge on him this whole preseason after watching him and Zach Wilson connect. But I think my biggest sleeper guy, who's going to be a free agent in most leagues. I probably in like every league, I think he's probably rostered in less than 2% of leagues. And that is Chiefs running back Jerick McKinnon. I think that could actually be a great pickup for everyone. I mean, Jerick McKinnon, look, in the Chiefs offense, you need a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield well. Jerick McKinnon has always been able to do that from his time in Minnesota. He's a good all-around running back. He can certainly win this starting spot with Clyde Edwards-Helaire injured. Darrell Williams, I believe, is currently ahead of him on the depth chart, but against Arizona, he was being evaluated for a concussion. There's just some turnover there. And even still, I think Jerick McKinnon should be the number one guy with Edwards-Helaire out. I think the biggest thing for me was looking at Jerick McKinnon score a touchdown this last week in the preseason, and that was kind of what it took for me to be like, yeah, like this is a guy who I think could be at least a fill-in for Clyde Edwards-Helaire until he gets back.
Okay, so we're gonna work backwards. McKinnon had. Hold on, we're getting some audio feedback. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, now we're good. So McKinnon's value, he was solid last year for a Washington football team, even while Antonio Gibson was healthy. So I think McKinnon can absolutely add some value to your teams. He's never going to be a top dog running back, but he can absolutely add some value at the flex. So I love that position, or love that pick, especially how late he's going in drafts. Like you said, he's essentially free. Corey Davis, we've already talked about him. Love him. Laviska Shenault, okay? There are certain coaching tendencies. I love coaching tendencies. It's been my bread and butter throughout the preseason, and you guys have seen it with my preseason gambling picks. If you want to see those, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. You will absolutely see all of my preseason picks for the rest of this week and heading into week one, because guess what? We've been making money, boys.
Money. And
I'm going to make money in fantasy too. And how I'm going to do it is with Laviska Shenault. And here's why. Don't get me wrong. I love the value on Marvin Jones. But Laviska Shenault isn't no slouch either. And the reason I'm saying this is when you look at the all-time, when you look at Urban Meyer, right? You look at what he's been able to do with dynamic athletes. And there's a guy who's still in the league right now, very dynamic, named Curtis Samuel, who he had at Ohio State, was a running back at Ohio State, but they used him in the slot. They used him all over the place. Another guy that kind of rings a bell, I don't know, Percy Harvin was pretty good at football at Florida underneath Urban Meyer, and they used him at running back, wide receiver, literally all over the field. They are going to manufacture touches for Laviska Shenault. He is talented. He is incredibly talented when you get the ball in his hands. Now, that offense, not going to be super efficient, but when you touch the ball 10 times a game, you don't have to be. I like Laviska Shenault. I think he's going to be a great value. I think people are kind of sleeping on that Jaguars offense a little bit because they're not names that really jump out at you. There's some value to be had there, and I'm going to hop all over it come fantasy football drafts, because we got a week and a half left of fantasy football drafts before the season starts. But that doesn't mean the fantasy content's going to stop. We got you all season long over there at TWSN. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's a new element that we're going to be adding to the TWSN show. We can't give you everything because if you want that, you got to subscribe to the TWSN Patreon, as Cody alluded to. Link is down in the description, along with all our social medias, guys. But, guys, we want to cap this show off with our final topic of the day. I'll make it really, really brief. Let's just pick 2 teams for each, 2 sleeper, 2 underrated teams, 2 overrated teams that we have. Give a little spiel. We want to get out of here because we want people to enjoy the rest of their Wednesday nights, especially our guy Dash, who's going to be doing a long road trip to Cali soon. So, with that being said, Dash, we're going to let you start this one off. Give us your 2 overrated teams and your 2 underrated teams.
All right, 2 overrated teams. I'm going to go with the first overrated team is the Arizona Cardinals. I think that they're in just a brutal division this year, and they haven't looked good to me yet. I think that there's so much potential here, so many big names, but I think the name value is leading people astray in a really crowded division, and I think that they're still going to be 3rd place at best behind the LA Rams and the Niners. But then my other overestimated team or overrated is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's just by their fans, I would say, at this point. Like I feel like there's a decent consensus generally that the Steelers are not going to be a great team this year, especially with that offensive line. But I still see people every day saying, "Oh, the Steelers they're going to go over 500. It's just what Mike Tomlin does." Not anymore. Not this year. That's not going to happen. So those are my 2 overrated teams.
And who were your 2 underrated teams?
My 2 underrated teams are the Washington football team out of the NFC East. I think that people are just considering it a competition, like a true battle for the division, and I don't see that happening. I think that it's going to be Washington's division, and I don't particularly expect it to be close. I think we'll know by week 14 that they got it locked up. And then my other one is the Indianapolis Colts. I think with Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson getting back early, this is something that people are not really paying enough attention to. I think that the Colts have a hard start to the schedule, but this is really a great roster, head to like top to bottom.
All right, Daniel.
I'll start off with my overrated teams. Man, I'm going to start off first off the Miami Dolphins. Right, people are saying they're going to make the playoffs. I know it's pretty much a toss-up right now between the Dolphins and the Patriots, but they're still favored over the Patriots. That shouldn't be the case, right? The Dolphins this year, their roster is better. Let me say it again. Yes, the roster is more talented today than it was last year. Yes, they have another year of Tua Tagovailoa, but last year they overachieved. We always see this. Teams overachieve. Last year, their defense was number one, the number one in total takeaways. That's unsustainable. That won't happen again. Their offense, Tua, every single game, or most of them, he was playing with a lead, right? People want to look at his record, say, oh, he was 4-2, or 4-2, 5-1. He was playing with the lead most of the time. That's not going to happen again. I think the Dolphins are overrated. Second, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm just a huge fan of the Washington football team this year. The Cowboys are good, right? Their offense is going to be electric. Love CD Lamb, love Amari Cooper. But what I've seen so far from, Hard Knocks, from training camp so far and everything, the culture isn't there, right? Dan Quinn's a good addition, but Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott don't seem to be on the same page. That defensive line isn't good. I'm not a huge fan of this team. I think the Cowboys will be good, will be average, but will not be a 10-11 win team. Underrated, this is where it's fun. I'm a huge Vikings fan this year. Huge Vikings fan this year. Last year, their defense was hammered with injuries. Hammered. Everson Griffin didn't play. I just like them this year, right? Last year, hammered with injuries, and I just think this year you get another year of Justin Fields, another year the offensive line is improving. Kirk Cousins is still going to be consistent. The other two teams are terrible in that division. So I'm a huge fan. The other two teams, the Bears and the Lions are 2 easy wins. The Bears, I think the Vikings can pull out 2 wins there. That's
Daniel, how do you say their offensive line is getting better and their tackle that they drafted in the first round, they don't know when he's going to come back from an injury, Christian Darrisaw. Like they literally don't. They have no idea. And
but did they have Darrisaw last year?
They had Riley Reef last year.
Better than it was last year.
They had Riley Reef last year, and Riley Reef is gone. You said their O-line's improving.
You also said Kirk Cousins is going to be consistent, and we all know Kirk Cousins has his like 3 games a year where he just decides not to come to the ballpark.
Whoa. Kirk Cousins is consistent. Kirk
For the
Cousins
most part,
is the definition.
he loses games.
He's the definition, and they're a run-first offense. You got 2 guys, Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. Madison has proved it when Cooks went down. The offense still churns. It still churns out yards. Last year, the biggest issue was Kirk can't play from behind. This offense can't play from behind. They're not meant to put up 35 points a game. They're not. Their defense was terrible. They were playing rookie cornerbacks.
And you think by them adding Everson Griffin, who they cut last year, their defense
not Everson Griffin. Who was hurt last year? Danielle Hunter. Yes. Danielle Hunter is a star. He is a star, and that defense was the bottom tier last year. They're going to improve, and by definition of their roster or their division being terrible, 4 easy wins. I mean, the Bears, that's going to be tough, but if you're giving them 4 wins, I'm a fan of this team because right now people are saying there was 7-win team. They're like, this is going to be 9-10 win team. Second, I can go a couple ways. I'm going to say the Bills. Because this team is a Super Bowl contender. This team is my favorite to win the Super Bowl. I just don't see people saying, oh, they're going to regress. They got better. Their biggest issue last year was that defensive line couldn't get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. What did they do? They went out and drafted Carlos Basham. They went out and drafted Gregory Rousseau, 2 guys who are going to absolutely transform that defensive line. And their offense got better. Gabe Davis in his second year. Added Emmanuel Sanders. Josh Allen's the MVP this year. This team is going to be a 13-plus win team this year. And I don't think there's a debate. I don't.
I like the Bills call there. I do like that. I do still want to go back to Mr. Kirk Cousins, Mr. Consistency himself. I'd like to read you his Week 1 stat line and his Week 2 stat line from last NFL season. Week 1,
he's like, oh, I got the receipts. Huh?
259 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Seems decent. Yeah, I'd take that. 260, 2-1. Let's go Week 2. 113 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Consistency. I'm missing that part. I don't know where.
Okay, explain me what quarterback doesn't have. Hold on. Explain me what quarterback doesn't have bad games. First off, give me one quarterback that didn't have bad games. Josh Allen did. Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers did last year. There's not a single quarterback in the NFL that hasn't had bad games. So by pointing out one game, I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there.
It wasn't his only 3 interception game, is what I'm getting at. I'm getting at that
he's not supposed to play from behind. I don't think you get that.
They're going to be because that defense isn't good anymore. Mike Zimmer is a great coach, but that talent just isn't there. They got a couple guys.
But Cody, they added Patrick Peterson. What do you mean?
Patrick Peterson's going to get the brakes blown off of him this year.
They just signed Everson Griffin though, but they just brought Everson Griffin back.
Yeah, and they have a consistent offensive line.
Didn't resign.
Great offensive line too. It's even better than last year.
Hey, Daniel, we can do a friendly wage on that because I think us 3 are all against you.
No, that's cool. That's cool if y'all are against me. I don't care. Like, listen, the reality is, let's look at their linebacking core. Eric Kendricks is still here. Anthony Barr is still here. You still have Danielle Hunter, who wasn't there last year, right? Kendricks was hurt last year. Barr was hurt last year. What are we talking about? Their defense was terrible last year. Harrison Smith got hurt. Their defense was hurt. They're going to be better than last year. And if they won 7 games last year, hold on. If they won 7 games last year with that defense, returning the same offense, how is there no upward trend with the Bears not being a playoff team anymore and the Lions being worse than they were last year? I think it's a pretty logical argument for them to have an improved season.
Look, if you're just talking about them winning divisional games, they were 3-1 against the Bears and the Lions. So if we're saying that the division's that much worse, maybe we give them one more win over the Bears, solidify the sweep there. But just look, okay, from their offensive line is not as good as it was, right? Kirk Cousins is older than he was last year, and he wasn't good last year. He was okay. Dalvin Cook is great. Don't get me wrong. I love Dalvin Cook. I love their receiving core. I love just Thielen and Jefferson. It's great. But they're not better than they were last year. This team is worse than they were last year, I think, especially on offense.
Look at
just offensive line. What about their defense? I mean, we talk about it. We talk about they
their
weren't that great last
player
year.
on their team was hurt all year. What are you talking?
And he's shown regression over the last 2 years. Harrison Smith has been getting worse. Danielle Hunter, I love Danielle Hunter off the edge.
Danielle Hunter is.
I love Danielle Hunter off the edge. Okay. So you get your number 1 and 2 players are out.
Sure. Top 5 defensive end in the league. Like they're getting him back.
They are. You're right, and that's not going to win you a straight up football game when you're down.
I'm going
behind.
I'm going off the pure assumption thing that you said. You said they're off or their team is not better than they were last year, and I am calling BS. Danielle Hunter makes them better. Anthony Barr makes them better. I just can't see how you're going to say that they're worse than they were last year when they were starting rookie cornerbacks. Patrick Peterson, okay, you can say he's washed up. He's better than a rookie cornerback.
Look, the Lions the Vikings. The Vikings seem to be the almost. I feel like they're like the kings of winning the offseason and losing the season. So they look good after the end of every offseason. They brought in a shiny new toy here or there, maybe. And it doesn't work year after year. And I think part of that is the front office. I think part of that maybe Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer's time is certainly nearing its end in Minnesota. But, I mean, look, they've been consistently doing this. They've been consistently being worse year after year. And in my mind, they're right at 7 wins, and I don't think that really changes.
All I'm going to say, final thing on this, and first off, I like your comment in the private chat. That makes me feel good. Year over year, they just won a playoff game against the Saints 2 years ago. What are we talking about? Their team was a 10-win team.
Yeah, bro, that was an incredible catch by Stephon Diggs, dude. He's gonna do so well for the Vikings.
Yeah, he's gonna really help the team.
Listen, what has this team been? This team has been the defense. So all I'm gonna say is returning Danielle Hunter, returning Anthony Barr, getting that offense back, and this defense as a whole is going to be much better than they were last year. They gave up the 35th most passing yards in the entire league last year. That's not happening again. Danielle Hunter will help them. Harrison Smith will help them. I just don't see how you can say last year they were 7-9. This year they won't win more than 7 games because I guarantee you, I'll place a bet right here. They will win 8 games. They will. You want to put it there? You want to make a bet because I guarantee you this team will improve from last year. I can make that guarantee for you. Quiet. You're quiet.
You suggest to me. This is just to me. I was wondering if this was a group thing.
Anyway,
yeah, sure.
You're the one who's talking. You're the one who's saying that.
Under 8.
So come on.
How much?
What?
How much are we putting on 8? We putting 80 on it?
Under 8? Oh my God. What do you want to put on it? Under
80?
Like you're giving me 8 and up? Oh my God.
For reference, the current win total is at 8.5.
I'll take over 8.5. We'll go with the official line then. We'll go with the official line.
So we're going up. We're going up. Over 8.5.
Sure. Yes. Over 8.5.
I'll take it.
I'm taking the under 8.5 on the wins. Under 8.5 for wins for me. You're taking over, right?
Oh, yeah. Let's rock.
Yeah.
Let's rock. Which one?
Right.
$10? $10. Y'all heard it.
No, I said 80.
Is that cool? 80?
85 since it's 8.5 wins.
85. If you want to rock 85, let's go back down to the original bet. Let's go at 8 and up, man. If you want to rock with 85,
ridiculous.
We're college students, man. Come on now.
I know. I'll throw a 10 on it. You're not gonna win that. So
let's rock with 10.
We can do 10. A nice friendly wager of 10. How about that?
Love that, fellas. And if you guys want to see more incredible debates back and forth, I know the TWSM betting Discord, which you can be a part of if you subscribe to the Patreon, is going to have some awesome back and forth as guys, go through their thoughts and their logic of why their picks are what they are. But so we're going to keep this moving. I'm going to give you my 2 overrated teams. And then I think Malik is going to give you some of his picks as well. And the oracle that is Malik Wright, it's a beautiful thing. But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to give you my overrated teams, right? Overrated. And it's, to me, I think it's pretty straightforward. The Seahawks are overrated. The offensive line isn't good. They run the ball too much. They have an archaic mentality. I'm out on the Seahawks in 2021. I think they finished third in that division. I really do. It is what it is. The other team I think is overrated is the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons that team didn't improve. They lost Julio Jones and they got a rookie tight end, and people act like that fixed the problem. Rookie head coach. They got Mike Davis as the running back. Whatever. It is what it is. I tell you what I am doing, though. I am going to save my underrated picks for the Patreon because I'm going to be hammering the win totals on those. So if you want to see who my underrated teams are, because I'm going to absolutely hammer and lock in those futures bets, go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon. We'll get those for you. Malik, who you got?
Cody, my picks are going to be live on the TWSN Patreon. If you want to know my overs, my unders, and the teams you should be betting on to surpass their win total, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. And if you want mine personally, become a GOAT. That's where you get most of the picks.
That's where you find Mystic Malik.
Mystic Malik, exactly. Mystic Malik. I predict these things. But no, as always, guys, we appreciate your support each and every single week on the Game Changer show. Subscribe to the Patreon. That's been the motto of today. Subscribe to the Patreon, guys. I'm telling you, we went 11-2 on our UFC picks 2 weeks ago on our last UFC card. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful time here at TWSN. We're doing a lot of great things, and we could not do any of this without you guys. But as always, guys, we will see you next Wednesday, live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Game Changers, joined by Aiden Mayer himself next week, joining us on the show. And I know we're all excited for that, to have him on board, one of our great young talents here at TWSN. But with that being said, guys, we hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy preseason football, and thanks for joining us.
The marathon continues. The Mamba mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Rain, sleet, or snow, I grind. I am the difference maker.
Clip it.